sitting at your job, daydreaming about the life that you would have if you'd won that big jackpot? Do you want to design a life for yourself that you don't need to take a vacation from? Do you have a vision for your life that you just don't know how to make a reality? Next Exit Your Destiny is a witty, comical, yet straightforward guide that gives you common sense, easy to follow steps to make the life you dream of the life that you live. Get off of Unfulfilled Street, Unhappy Way, and Sunday Night Blues Boulevard and take the next exit towards your destiny today. Welcome back, everyone, to Dream Building 101. If you like what you see, please go ahead and click like or subscribe. I am Dr. M.D Potts. I'm the author of Next Exit Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. And I have the pleasure of interviewing one of my Scotch Plains Fanwood High School fellow alumni, Miss Kari Whitley. How are you today, ma'am? Or Dr. Kari Whitley.
That's all right. I was missed when we met, so it's cool.
No, ma'am. You gotta put the respect on your name. You gotta put that respect on your name. How are you?
Doing quite well. How about you?
Doing well, so especially considering.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to have you. So why don't you? I've already explained to the people that you are Dr. Whitley. Why don't you explain to everyone who you are, what you do, and what is your profession?
Yes, so my name is Kari Whitley. I am a specialist in maternal and fetal medicine. So basically, I did a residency in obstetrics and gynecology, decided I did not like gynecology so much, loved the obstetrics side, and then went into high-risk obstetrics.
So what was your career path how did you end up where you are today? We went to high school together, but where did you go to college? What was your path like?
So my path was interesting, and I usually tell people I just kind of stumble along life, which is crazy. But I went to Rutgers thinking that I was going to do the BA M.D program that they had. Ended up not doing that, but even better, I went to the Office of Multicultural Affairs and did their Access Med program. So I was basically applied in my junior year of college, taking my MCATs and things like that, and was accepted and was able to start my med school classes in my senior year of college.
Wow.
And it was a program that was geared towards enhancing diversity in medicine. So they had pretty strict criteria for you to be accepted and things like that. So, people are always like, oh, well, you got an upper edge. No, I didn't. I was not partying as a senior in college like most people were.
Right.
But I was able to start med school that way. And of course, you had to maintain a certain GPA, make sure you were doing well in all your classes for those classes to count. And then for you to go ahead and continue your matriculation into Robert Wood Johnson.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. I did a few programs. I was pre-med and then I changed my mind.
I remember.
Like lots of people did junior year when everybody started taking organic chemistry, genetics. Organic chemistry was the devil. Okay, not my favorite class. Oh boy.
But
yeah. So lots of people changed completely out of biology at that time. I continued on with biology. When I did some stuff over at UMD&J, they had a diversity program for trying to get more minorities into the medical field. Mm-hmm. And they had some summer bridge programs, which were pretty great. But I did not continue along that path, obviously, like you did. So, but anywho, so how did fear enter in to the different parts of your path as you continued along?
I didn't let it.
So you tried though, right?
It's hard, but you can't let it. Like you literally, once you make up your mind, and I'm that type of person, once I make up my mind, that's what I'm doing. Like that's it. I have a couple of plans, but backup plans to lead me to that same path. But yeah, because for me, the fear of doing what I wanted to do versus the fear of unknown was what I kept in my head. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have to make sure that you keep an open mind, because as you're trying to go along this path that you think you want to do, you could have your blinders up and you could actually miss out on on certain opportunities, you know? So for instance, when I was in college, I was a student athletic trainer for the football team and the women's lacrosse team. So I was thinking, I'm going into orthopedics, right? So little Kari wanted to do obstetrics. Big Kari thought she wanted to do orthopedics. As I'm preparing for orthopedic surgery, because I got a mentor, all of those things, who told me what to do, how to set up my schedule, got research started, the whole nine. Part of that preparation was to do obstetrics first before surgery, because obstetrics is surgical and you can really, learn all those things that'll impress your surgery colleagues and your surgery attendings. So then that way you can get those letters of recommendation. Yeah, I fell in love with OB.
Right.
I know I'm supposed to be using this for preparation, but this is actually really cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you have to ignore the fear, go with your gut, and keep an open mind. Because you never know where you will end up if you don't. You know what I mean? So,
right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. A lot of people hit that wall of fear and they go back to whatever they think is comfortable, and then they'll end up continuing to cycle back to that same spot over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't. Comfort is the devil. Okay. Comfort. There's no growth that comes from comfort. And trust, like I ended up changing my path late into my third year. So I was scared, but I knew as I'm sitting in orthopedics, I'm watching a knee replacement, falling asleep, thinking about GYN oncology procedures. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, if it gets to that point where all you could think of is something else, then that's what you need to be doing.
Right. That's
and
true.
You need to do whatever you got to do to get there.
That's true. Definitely true. What other kind of hurdles have you faced along your path? You're a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
you're a woman, you're African American, in the field of medicine, and anyone that's done any kind of research, medicine in most fields are a microcosm of our greater society. Mm-hmm. So the things that people experience, in society as a whole, they're going to be reflected in medicine and in any other field. So how has that shaped you? How have any of those obstacles that you want to speak to along your path?
Yeah. So medicine is tricky. I remember one of my interviews for residency, I was speaking with one of the current residents who was actually graduating. And very lovely, like her a lot. We actually still, had a relationship now. But she told me that particular program that I was interviewing for only accepts one Black person every 4 years.
Wow.
She was graduating and that they liked me a lot.
Wow. So that's crazy.
She was basically like, yeah, you'll get it. And I'm sitting there like, it is 2006. Like,
right.
It's still a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Really? And then, of course, you start to reflect, like, why me? Out of all the people who are here, like, what is it about me that they like? And should I accept that? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It brought about a lot of questions for sure, but it also brought that to the forefront, because I have to say, as a Black female physician, I feel like, you definitely have to work harder. You need to know your stuff for sure, because you're going to be challenged. Now, any med student is going to be challenged, but I feel like there's definitely more challenges. There's more pimping, per se. You hear about the pimping that happens. There's more the question answer, the question asking and going into further details and things like that. Proud to say that myself and some of my co-students, or who we're still really good friends today, we were actually like famous in one of our rotations for basically giving them the business and answering every question that was answered. You know what I mean? So
right.
You got to stay on your toes for sure, but you also have to have a thick skin, because that daggone racism is going to rear its ugly head. It really will.
Definitely.
But
definitely.
You let those experiences become you. Mm-hmm. If anything, you have to try to rise above them. You use them and you learn from them, but they cannot overwhelm you, because if that happens, then they've won.
That's true. How has COVID, especially being in the medical field,
Oh, I just
how has that affected what you do? The current state of events. What would you like to speak to about that?
So here's my take on COVID as a high risk obstetrician. Okay, people need hobbies, and I say that because when I tell you we're preparing for the next baby boom, or we're in the midst of the
Oh
next baby
Lord,
boom,
girl.
ma'am, I was
Oh
like, I'm gonna
yeah,
need people to start doing them adult coloring books or like a knitting, or I don't even care,
right.
but
Something.
stay away from each other because we are so busy right now. So busy. It's
Oh yeah.
ridiculous.
Well, I wonder, my in-laws and I were talking the other day about the baby boomers and how that's affected the housing market because a lot of them are now aging into the point where they would be interested in active living, those types of housing, and how that whole type of real estate has kind of boomed because of the fact that they are aging into that age bracket.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to call this group of kids. I mean, are they going to be the COVID
They're
babies? Are
gonna
they,
be the COVID
what?
babies forever.
Right. Oh my
Forever.
goodness.
But it's very busy. I have to say it's very busy. And in my line of work, it's not that it's bad to be busy. But let's just say I'm giving bad news on a regular basis because we're seeing an increase in just the amount of babies being born. And the more babies you have, the more problems you're gonna have. It's just the
Right,
way
the
the numbers
percentage, right.
work.
Well, I definitely love my high risk doctors, especially the NICU nurses are the bomb.com because my baby was she was 7 weeks
Oh,
early.
I
She
remember.
yeah, right. She was 7 weeks early. She was in the NICU for 8 weeks and I had preeclampsia. Shout out to them because that is an extremely stressful job
Mhm.
because the stress is in the air just from the parents. I just remember looking at her. She was so tiny and the nurse was like, hey, you want to change your diaper? And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't want
Oh,
to
what
touch her. I feel like she's gonna break.
great.
Right, she was so tiny. And
Yeah.
when I took off her diaper, like she literally didn't have a tush. Like she had no tush, and I immediately, hormones are flowing. I mean, I just started bawling,
Oh,
and the nurses and the doctors that were there were just, phenomenal. So shout out to you guys because
thank
definitely a profession that's needed and should be highly celebrated.
you. Appreciate
If
you.
you could speak to someone out there who just may be starting on their path, whether it's a mid-life career changer person, whether we're talking to a college student, just someone that might be just switching gears towards whatever is going to be fulfilling for them. What advice would you give them?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There's nothing that is unreachable, and there's always room for mistakes. Okay, so little known fact. I actually after my intern year in OB, I switched to pediatrics because I didn't realize that as an intern you're supposed to be miserable and depressed. And I was like, well, maybe it's what I'm doing. Maybe it's not just the overall, what's going on. Maybe it's actually like what I'm physically doing on a day-to-day basis. So I decided to change and I went into pediatrics and then I went back into OB.
Right.
Because pediatrics was not, it wasn't it. It wasn't it at all for me. So do I recommend that? Not necessarily, but I am a product of you can make a mistake and you can actually get back on track. It's not impossible. It's totally not impossible. But you can't be afraid. You can't let that fear drive you. I don't believe in what ifs. And again, like I said, mistakes are things that happen. And guess what? You learn from them, you correct them, and you move on. So nothing is permanent. Okay. If you choose something, you're not necessarily stuck in that choice. And don't let comfort leave you stuck in that choice. Because if it did, I'd be a miserable but clinically sound pediatrician today, and I wouldn't like it.
Right.
Shout out to the pediatricians though, because y'all are a special group of people that I couldn't do it.
Well, every again, the path for you is your path. The path for me is my path, and the
Exactly.
path for whoever's watching, that is your path. And it doesn't have to be the same way that the person before you arrived at wherever they are, and it's most likely not going to be that way. So you have to, take your bumps and your bruises and use them to get you to where you need to be, and just understand that your path is your path.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
It's okay,
but I'm sorry.
I said, take advantage of your path, because if you're trying to follow somebody else's path, you could be missing out on experiences and blessings in your own,
That's true.
life-changing things in your own path. You just have to follow your gut. Your gut is wise. If your gut is telling you to do something or not to do something, listen to it.
That's one of the things I tell my older son. I have an older son too, who's almost 13. And, I tell him about that. I said, yes, ma'am. He'll be 13. And right. You just as surprised as I am, but I'll be here every day. Right. Yeah, he will be 13 in April. And I tell him all the time, I say, look, man, I never wanted to be, there's things that I've tried all kinds of different stuff. I have a CDL, which again probably sounds crazy. I have a doctorate in education and education administration, but I have a CDL and I can drive a big rig. Okay.
Might come in handy one day. You never know.
Hey, my husband, that's my husband's field. But again, trying out different things, going down different roads, trying, to do whatever you think might bring you fulfillment is important. And I never wanted to be the person as I got older that was sitting in a rocking chair on the porch saying, what if and I wonder if I had done, and I never wanted to be that person. When opportunities or what feels like maybe an opportunity presents, I do the gut check, like you said. And if I don't feel anything that's going like, girl, what are you thinking? This is not for you, then hey, why not? I'll give it a shot so that I don't have those what ifs later on in life. I never wanted to be that person that has those. So
exactly.
Well, anything else you want to add or any questions for me?
No, just, you have a dream, just go ahead and follow it. You know what I mean? Because you never know. It might take you to a whole other dream you didn't even know you had.
Right. That's true.
Right.
Because I've said before on previous interviews, I said somebody would have told me that I would be interviewing anybody and sitting on anybody's YouTube. I'd be like, what? Who? Me?
What you mean?
Man, please. Not me.
Thank you for doing this, because this is so important. I feel like just the mentorship aspect of just being us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We got to set ourselves up for success, and we got to be there for each other to make sure that we are on the right path and that we're doing stuff. So my dear, I appreciate you for this. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you for volunteering to speak to the people today. So many gems of wisdom and things that you learned on your path that will be helpful to someone. Again, anyone that has not picked up my book, Next Exit, Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. Again, I wanted to do this series because, everyone learns differently. And someone that's reading this book might be able to absorb it to the greatest potential for them just from reading it. But other people might need a visual. They might need someone that's on the same path, or something that they heard might, again, trigger something in them that goes, oh, okay, now I get it. Or, so I just wanted to make sure to incorporate some concrete examples of different people on different paths to just kind of make things plain for people. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So where can the people see you in action if someone wants to get in contact with you? You never know, you might have somebody, out in your area that is looking for a high risk obstetrician, OBGYN, or any of that. So how would they contact you?
Best way would probably be just my personal email address, KariWhittley@gmail.com. Okay.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate you.
Doctor.
All right. And again, if you like what you saw today, don't forget to click like or subscribe to this video. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Next Exit, Your Destiny, Taking the Road Towards the Life of Your Dreams. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Apple, BarnesandNoble.com. And again, thank you, everybody. And I hope that you all have a fantabulous day. Bye-bye.